This is Mongolian Mindset, and today me and Christian are going to be dropping the most persuasive of all the 16 personality types. These people can sell a TV to a blind man, okay? We're going to be talking about the ENFP, okay? Extroverted, intuitive, feeling, perceiving, okay? We'll be going into a lot of things about them, the holistic view of them, how you can find an ENFP, the cognitive functions, the different grips, the subtypes, and how you can improve and not be in a grip. Okay, and then we'll be giving our 2 cents at the end. We'll be chiming in experiences that we have with ENFPs. We actually have a good amount of experience between me and Christian with ENFPs. We share several friends that are ENFPs. One of my cousins is an ENFP. Fucking this guy, man. Oh man, I hope he doesn't watch this video because I'm going in on his ass. Christian's brother-in-law is ENFP, and our friend Joseph is an ENFP. So we're gonna be hitting ENFP males pretty hard. So yeah. Christian, anything you want to say before we get into this?
Yeah, I'll say I have an interesting relationship with ENFPs. I think as opposed to our previous videos where I have a lot of stuff in common with some of those types, these are kind of like the opposite of me in a way, in a lot of ways. So some conflicts arise when I interact with ENFPs, and I guess I have a good perspective to give so that that you don't fall into certain traps that ENFPs may lay for you, because these guys, like Mercer said, are very persuasive. So if you're not careful, they'll sell you on many and any different things. Okay. So remember, watch this video not once, not twice, watch it 3 times so you don't fall into those traps.
And do not forget, me and Christian are the MBTI content killers. When you see us on a video, you know you're getting the most accurate information. I went through several sources, picking the best information that what I've seen from the books and what I've actually seen in real life and what I've seen in actually typing people as well. So you're getting that all in fucking one here, guys. Unfortunately, some people's types, I'm not gonna be able to find anime characters for. I couldn't sit and find an anime character for these guys because every guy you fucking morons think is an ENFP is actually an INFJ. Ash Ketchum's, Naruto, Luffy, all these guys, same guys. They're not ENFPs, they're INFJs, right? It's very easy to see that Luffy they think for themselves. They don't care about what other people think, right? That's very common to see between all protagonists, right? The INFJs. So unfortunately, everyone has that wrong, and I'd have to fucking sift through and find an ENFP. So I said, fuck that. But we do have some common ENFPs that are killing it in life. We got Ty Lopez there. Barry T.E. Child Focus there. We got
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins,
which actually my brother-in-law loves. So Tony Robbins is like his idol, right? So it's funny enough that they're both ENFPs. So that's the similarity. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I'll say ENFPs, like Tony Robbins, man, his books are phenomenal. He's compiling a lot of information with T. Child. And he goes up to the experts. His books are must get. I'm not even gonna lie, that man changed my life, especially when it came to health, right? He was the guy who put me on NMN, right? And then I told Christian about NMN, and we were both taking that shit. And now I take another mitochondrial supplement because your mitochondria decreases over time. So shout out to Tony Robbins, would have never got that if it wasn't for his book. So shout out to that ENFP. And then you have Kevin Hart. I think he's corny as fuck. He's always making fun of himself. I don't really like that. Like a person that's always making fun of themselves. I really not the biggest fan of that. But everybody thinks he's funny, so whatever. And then we have Tom Cruise. Okay, guys, this is me. It's gonna be great. So the ENFP, right? ENFPs are first and foremost energized by new ideas and possibilities. You ask why? Because their hero function, their Goku, is extroverted intuition, right? It's all about possibilities, trying new things. They hate doing the same thing more than one time. They want to reinvent the wheel. They want to just try different things because that's what the hero function is all about: brainstorming, bringing ideas, generating ideas, right? That's what they're going to be about, right? They're going to trust brainstorming and what emerges from that. Um, like they can see potentials in people, potential in objects, potentials in whatever, and they will sell you on that potential. That's the thing, right? That's what makes them so good at selling things, right? For an ENFP, life is a process of inspiring, facilitating others to find and reach their full potential. You can see that with Tony Robbins, right? He has those big seminars, one of the biggest ones, and he's actively building people up. It's a very powerful thing that he does. I mean, you can't help but get motivated when you listen to Tony Robbins. It is what it is. I guess, you can hate on him, but that's just the truth. ENFPs are good at understanding how people in groups work. See, that is the power behind these guys, right? They're good at reading and understanding how groups and people work.
Mhm.
Ooh, gotta be careful. And are persuasive, compelling in pursuit of what's important to them. I can speak for my cousin. Man, sometimes he be telling me he gonna do something, man. I'd be like, man, that's bullshit. And then a week later, I see him with it, and I'm like, what did he do?
Mhm.
Sometimes he's been like, Mercer, I could get you an oil change for $15. I mean, shut the fuck up. I'm like, shut up with that lying shit. And then all of a sudden, he's like, take your car here. I know this guy who know this guy, and all of a sudden, I'm getting a $15 fucking oil change, right?
Mhm.
So they're very good at working people. Um, ENFPs are known to be curious, creative, imaginative, energetic, enthusiastic, spontaneous, personable, cooperative, persuasive, open-minded, restless, and adaptable. Right? That's just a synopsis of who they are there. That's what you'll notice. ENFP's energy and enthusiasm are contagious to others. Like if you want to get encouraged to do something, um, just be around an ENFP. They will get you encouraged. They will light this drum inside of you that makes you want to do something.
Mhm.
Um, it's when they're being authentic and um, being good people, they can really, really, really motivate people to get to be better versions of themselves. ENFPs tell stories, jokes, use puns, and play on words. They usually speak really fast, so rapidly, and their language contains humor with metaphors. I'll never forget my friend Joseph. Man, this guy's fucking nuts, man. Joseph always be saying off the wall shit, but you be laughing.
Yeah,
Just funny as fuck. Like
and
he's
funny
just a
enough,
joy to be around.
just to mention, Joseph speaks Spanish as a first language. English is his second language, and yet he was always busting jokes in English, being humorous, whatever. People thought he was super funny,
Yeah,
even in a second language. So it came natural to him.
well, I mean, I don't think it comes natural. I mean, I think he's just natural at it because most people when they switch languages, they can't like forego that. I mean, they can't like be themselves. They kind of take a limited role because their vocabulary is limited.
Right.
But Joseph, oh man, we get fucked in the booty. Like he be saying all types of shit, man. We be just dying. Kiyosaki. I mean, he was just, man, Joe was just, man, like I said, like ENFPs, everybody loves them. They're like probably the most loved personality type of all
Mhm.
of them.
Yeah.
Very good with people.
Very popular. Very popular. Yeah.
Very popular. All right, Christian.
Okay, so ENFPs dress more for themselves than others and prefer comfort. So they're not exactly very stylish. They just dress comfortably and they can dress in a way that maybe like promotes their status, but it's kind of traditional. They're not really breaking the rules when it comes to their dress code. Over time, they adapt and craft their identity to become clear on who they are and who they are meant to be. Why is it over time? Is because a lot of times they're taking in information and habits from other people, and it's crafting who they are, but they need to be clear on who they are as people, and that takes time for them. Doing this by mapping their own core motivations against that of others, so they need to establish their own motivations over time so that they can get to know themselves. Okay, they're drawn towards achievements and can be career focused, like they really want to promote their status, so how they appear to other people. Okay, they're able to mediate differences and conflict by seeing the ways the differences connect. Okay, so the differences between people, so they're good mediators. ENFPs hate routine, schedule, and structure. They fear boredom and stagnation. Now what I interpret that as is they will oftentimes, even though they have a routine, oftentimes they'll change their routine when they get a new idea because they're constantly taking in like new ideas and possibilities. So you'll see them one day and they'll be like, I need to wake up at 5 a.m. And they'll do that for maybe 3 months. And then 3 months later, they're like, well, no, actually, I need my sleep to be optimized. So I'm going to get up at 8. You know what I mean? It's like it changes. They're not really consistent in that way. ENFPs place high value on their personal experiences, but they don't really place high value on your experiences, right? So, like, for example, I might say something about myself and my experience and a benefit that I got out of it, or maybe a trap that I fell into. They'll completely disregard that. They're really just about their own experiences, and they'll take on,
Demon.
huh?
SE Demon.
SE demon, right? And they'll
That
take
nigga's
on
all
like,
about your experience.
and then they'll take ideas from like sources if the person has high status. But if, for example, I come in as regular old Joe and I say my experience, they'll probably just ignore that. They probably won't even acknowledge it, you know? So when ENFPs express themselves without a goal, cause, or self-development focus, they can become attention-seeking, manipulative, and even cruel. I don't have a lot of experience of underdeveloped ENFPs that are cruel, but in one way that it kind of shows up, they can be kind of selfish-minded, so they can like manipulate certain scenarios to get what they want. I've
Mhm.
definitely noticed that. Okay.
Yeah. I would say when it comes to like them, they're always like doing something new. There's got to be something new. Like, oh, hey man, I'm doing this to be more successful. Hey man, I'm doing this. Like it's always something. And it's like,
A new
man,
habit.
you were trying that. It's like bro, they just shotgunning all the way around. And it's just like, bro, just
Hmm.
focus. Like if you focus,
Hmm.
you'll do a lot better.
It's like
A lot of
one
times.
a couple months they'll be like, you know what? I'm not drinking caffeine. Caffeine's really bad. Then you'll see them 3 months later. Now they're drinking caffeine again. Or then like 2 months later they'll be like, you know what? I'm not drinking at all. Alcohol is terrible for you. And then 2 months later they'll see like, oh, let's make some drinks for Aeropol's spritz or whatever. That's my brother-in-law because he had a section where he wasn't drinking alcohol. Then he changed. So you'll see them change a lot of habits. They just take them in as possibilities and like explore that option, but it doesn't stay consistent oftentimes is what I've noticed.
And what I would say is like about the ENFP is like they got that NE and that TE, so they can just devour information. Like there's like they could just suck down some fucking information like you have never seen,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Reading tons and tons of books. If you're an ENFP, highly recommend you just read a ton of books, man. Build that World Wide Web to
Hmm.
be very strong. Ask those who have a stronger background and knowledge so that you get the best sources because you can read bullshit, right? There's bullshit books out there. And you got to be able to read and discern like when this is like straight up fucking trash and a
Hmm.
waste of your time.
Hmm.
I'll talk about my cousin here, man. I mean, this guy is very charismatic. I mean, he manipulates perception. Like when we go out, we me and him together because he's more flamboyant and out there. I'm more focused and like I know exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm a sniper here, sniper there. He gonna make sure everybody know who the fuck we are. Like it is like he knows how to make us the talk of the town, right? And that's what he does so well. And with me and him together, because I'm the more focused one, I'm like that. We work very well together, and we've always been a very good team. Like
Hmm.
always been a good team. Um, so, so how do you find ENFPs, right? So they're informative. So they give you a lot of information. They might beat around the bush. They may work in a cryptic way where they say something where you have to decode what they're saying. But basically, they want you to buy into what they're saying. That's what the informative means. Like they don't really want to tell people exactly what to do. They don't want to be direct. They want to push you to do anything, right? They want you to buy into it, which is very good for fucking sales, right? People don't understand like communication is selling. This is why these guys are so good at, maybe you think, how can I be better at picking up girls or talking to girls? That's all sales. ENFPs, this is you want people to naturally buy in. That's what they're good at. their progression of movement or journey. So they're all about the journey of life. They want to hit multiple targets and then eventually arrive to their destination. They're not really focused on a particular outcome. They're just believing in picking up skills and trying things and moving throughout life and constantly having that progression in life. That's why they fear stagnation, because they want to always be making progress. They are affiliative. And the thing about these guys is they can be the sneaky affiliative, because they have FI parent, right? FI parent is what do they value, what they care about. And that's going to be first and foremost. We know they got FE critic, but what do they care about? So if they don't care about something, you can see a side of them that you think is pragmatic, but it's really just their FI parent there. Okay?
Right. Like you can often see ENFPs act very pragmatically in situations. At their core, they really care about how society perceives them, right? Like they really care about that societal acceptance. Like they want society to see them as successful people, right? Like this is really important to them. They want to belong to that group. That's where that affiliative nature comes in, right? At their core, right?
So like again, when you're talking about that, you'll see them trying to fit into different groups. I had a friend in college, his name was Pablo. When he was trying to go to law school, he tried to fit into the law group. And then when he wanted to be in tech, he started wearing fucking glasses. And now he's a cow goddamn boy. Okay. So I mean, it's just, they're trying to get accepted into these groups, the other hand, I never do that. Like
Right.
I am the group. Like Mercer's the group, and then everybody kind of like molds around Mercer. You will never see me just doing shit that Mercer don't really do to fit in with you.
Right. And me as well, I'm pragmatic as well. I don't even care about the group, right? Like as opposed to Mercer who wants to lead the group, I just do my own thing at all times. I prefer to be free and not really play within the lines of group structures or hierarchies, etc. Right? But Mercer and I are pragmatic. ENFPs don't operate that way at all. They want to be in a fraternity, or they want to be part of the law group or part of the engineering group, that type of thing. And they want to be perceived as high status within those groups. Okay? Like at their core, they're really moving towards that. They progress towards that.
They really care about that outward validation from people. You're successful, you're great, and they will manipulate that perception. But they also have that diplomatic intelligence, so they can bridge the gap between people, and they're very good and being people focused, right? That's more in the affiliative lines and their interest, right? I think of all the types, they are the best at knowing what the fuck they get out of a situation and bamboozling you to not even know what you get out of a situation.
Right.
That's how good they are.
Right.
I know they have global interests, so they want to do what's best for everybody in an idealistic way. But these guys, if I parent, they can hover better than anybody else when it comes to that fucking interest. I think it's that NE, it's that fucking NE and that FI. I mean, my God, with these guys, man, you won't even know your arms behind your back.
Yeah, because they could be so charismatic and persuasive. It's almost like they hide their hand, like you don't know that they're extracting value from you until later. Or let's say you'll notice it when you can't provide any more value. These people disappear. They're gone. Like you can't hit them on the phone. They don't pick up the phone. Like let's say let's say you set up a meeting with them or something, but like you don't provide that much value, these people will ignore you and like ghost you, okay, and leave you hanging, like waiting on them. Like you'll call them, they won't pick up the phone. You just drove 2 hours to go meet them, like that type of thing. Like I've experienced those things with different ENFPs. I'm not gonna say which one. You know what I mean?
But I'll talk about it myself. Like, dude, when they need something, they're gonna blow your phone up. Like, because my friends know that I'm really good with stocks. I'm really good with stocks. So whenever they like, oh, Merce, I gotta figure out what Merce doing with money. That blow my goddamn phone up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just get a fucking phone call out of nowhere from like a year ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago, or let's say they know me and Christian are coming to town, and if me and Christian go out of town, we usually gonna pop bottles, so they're gonna hit our fucking line. It is what it is.
Or let's say like we post about stocks and they don't know about stocks. All of a sudden they're hitting us up when they haven't hit us up for like 3 months. You know what I mean? They'll see like, yo, how'd you do that? Extracting value, after their own interest. It's kind of a negative thing, but a lot of times they get away with it because they're really good at talking, persuading, and kind of like bringing you in with that charisma, you know. So by the time they extracted the value, you didn't even notice, you know. So
Didn't even know. So they're abstract. They're all about the what if, right? With that NE, it's all about the what ifs. They live in an idealistic world. A lot of times these guys live in life with a rose-colored glasses. They see really no downside to anything. That's why a lot of time when you're an ENFP, you're gonna get type sexual 7 enneagram. It just is what it is. That's one that I know straight up when somebody is coming in with rose-colored glasses, you're a fucking ENFP. There's no, you see all upside, no downside. Unfortunately, it is what it is. And they're initiating. They like to go to others to get things done. When you're talking to them, they will any and flip things around, charging new ideas, start new topics, all type of things of that nature, interrupt you, all of that nature. You'll see that with ENFPs. Um, yeah. But like at their core, man, they're very charismatic and likable people, but you do have to be on guard. I guess me and Christian,
we I'm sorry. I'm sorry this presentation comes off a little negative, but we have experienced. We fell into some of these traps over the years, so I think that's why it's, you know, we're just disclosing that so that you guys are aware. But there's a lot of positives with ENFPs as well. So
like they can facilitate you to do great things.
mhm.
Or they'll be right there with you. You know, like my cousin, he's always there with me. No matter what, if I hit him up, he coming. But you know, his FI parent value me, thank God, because if it fucking didn't, phone call go unread, baby.
All right.
Chris, go ahead.
So ENFP cognitive functions. Okay. So you got the any hero. This is, as we've mentioned before, it identifies patterns, possibilities, connections, and opportunities. This is their Goku, their hero. Is so they're constantly getting, you know, new possibilities and ideas, and you know, they kind of are persuasive about them to try to get you to, you know, they sell you on these possibilities. FI parent. This is inner harmony, authenticity, and being congruent with identity. Now, Mercer, how does FI parent come across with the ENFPs? Like, what do they want to do most of the time?
So I mean, they kind of always know about how they feel about something, right? It's more about good or bad, dislike or like. They recognize what is congruent with them and what motivates them,
Mm-hmm.
right? They know how they feel inside. They stick with their own belief system. They easily detect when someone's behavior is inauthentic or phony. That's the most annoying thing for me. If
Mm-hmm.
these motherfuckers be on my ass. Like if I do anything, like they be on my FI inferior like a motherfucker with that fucking FI parent. It's like, oh, or FE critic because it's negative. It's like, damn, bro, get off me with that shit. Share your feelings. Like a lot of times the ENFP women be like, it's okay to share your feelings. It's all this. Like, bro, I'm not cool with that. Can you just get off me? Like, I don't want to do that.
Mm.
This
Yeah.
may lead them to be looked at selfish. We talked about that. Sometimes they can like rigidly adhere to a certain belief system, can respond strongly to high value words or false data. So what that looks like is like certain words, they're like, I don't like that word.
Mm.
That's when you know the FI parent coming out. I don't like that word. Can we change that word?
Because it makes them
Um,
feel a certain way. Okay,
and
gotcha.
also with the false data because they can kind of really go to data that makes them feel good,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
align with their value system. Because ultimately, if I parent, you know, I'll say again, these people are some of the most innerly confident people. I've told my cousin he's one of the most confident human beings I've ever met. Okay, the FI parent always has them feeling good.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
so.
So let's move on to TE Child. TE Child, because I'm TI Hero, is kind of like that's the interesting relationship that I was talking about at the beginning of the presentation. Because they take these outside frameworks, sources, and because they have any hero, it's almost like they come very fast. You know, they're constantly taking information from sources, right? And the thing is, like, a lot of the times they have like an optimistic view of these sources, right? So they come in very strong to promote these in an indirect way, right? But because I'm TI hero and I'm direct and I'm very skeptical, then I kind of pick these sources apart, right? And that's where the conflict comes in. Because like I said, ENFPs, they're constantly taking information and they're very optimistic about them, right? Also, T child wants to be acknowledged for their success metrics, their status, etc. Whereas I don't really care too much about that. You know what I mean? So there could be a lot of conflict with people that have different views like that. Um, and yeah, Mercer, you have anything to say about T child?
Yeah, man, I got a lot to say about T Child. So T Child is gonna be, that is where they come in and they're like, "Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that." Like, we're all like, it's very childish when it comes out.
Hmm.
You'll see that where it's like, "Oh, I got this going on, I got this going on," or like I hit up my buddy, he's like, yeah, man, I'm studying for a class or something. Like he's trying to like big himself up with his TE child, to
Right.
feel like he's productive or
Like
successful, but it
important.
comes off very childish,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And then like as in my TE hero is back behind um TI opposing, it's got a check system. Their TI child has no check system behind it with TI trickster. So a lot of times they could just take in sources that are not very credible.
Hmm.
Um, and they will like I talk about, this is the function they use to manipulate perception.
Hmm.
TE child. Um, and they can manipulate the perception where you don't even know what's really going on. Where it can be like they can lie a lot, unfortunately. But this is more like we're talking about the men, but like we said, like they can just suck down a lot of information, just like books, 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 books,
Yeah,
books,
but
books, books.
but another thing is like because it's childish, like Mercer's saying, a lot of times when you dig into the sources or their information they're taking, it could have a lot of logical fallacies in that, and the child kind of wants to run free. So by you bringing in skepticism or kind of like pulling apart their logic, it's almost like you're attacking that child so they can be very defensive over those sources. They could be like, well, the guy's a PhD though. The guy has a PhD. And it's like, yeah, but when you dig into the logical framework of the idea, it doesn't check out or it doesn't work out in that context. You know what I mean? But because they're really just taking in information childishly, they don't really dig into the specifics that much, So
So like they can develop the TE child, right? And that can help with them being in leadership roles. You'll see ENFPs and CEOs and leadership
mhm.
roles. But ultimately, like the child function does get exhausted. So you got to be very careful with it. Um, and use it very like you can use it in the right places, because like overall it's a function that's not your hero or parent, right? So you're gonna have to do a lot of work with it, and it's not as strong as your critic as well. So like somebody like myself is pretty strong at like controlling the environment or implementing systems. You can try that with TE Child, but then over time you're gonna burn the fuck out, right? Out of nowhere, you're just gonna be burned, like you know. But as somebody like myself, that's the way of life for me, because
Right,
that's my hero function.
right.
Just like any hero is the way of life for you guys.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah,
All right.
don't
So
forget SI for you.
SI inferior is about recalling experiences, stabilizing a situation, comparing to the known memory and homeostasis. Okay. Now this is in the inferior spot. So this is going to be actually a weakness, and like we said, over time, it's almost like you have to kind of learn at your core what you want or who you are because you have that any hero, and like Mercer says, you could put on a lot of costumes chasing those ideas. You got the law uniform, and then you turn into a cowboy. So it's good to acknowledge that and prepare for that SI inferior and ground yourself in your identity, right?
Right. So, I mean, generally speaking, I think people are generally blinded to the degree that their inferior function impacts their decisions and behaviors, right? Because NE and SI on the axis, right? That's the spine of the ENFP's personality. They can have fear about enduring situations, right? or like they can fear like they're not comfortable. They can lack some degree of innerly bodily awareness, right? And this can cause them to pay too much attention to physical sensations, which lead to the worry of like health problems, right? And if you worry about something, it does kind of will manifest itself.
Hmm.
So you see that happening. They're extremely sensitive to experiences. Their recollection can seem incredibly real and convincing, even when highly inaccurate or like or manipulated. Right. So like you'll see some of the comedians get in there and they can like basically recall a scenario, but it's an inferior function, so it's really not that great, and it's clearly distorted.
Right. Right.
Um,
You want to talk about the opposings? Go ahead.
Let me finish that.
Sure.
So they often desire to like get a limit or like set a status for their life. Can you hear me, Kirsten?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, they want that conventional life with SI, right? But they're always with NE chasing that, the bag of what's new,
Hmm.
what's over time, like, the hero function is on a journey with SI inferior, and that's the Goku and Gohan. And over time, that SI inferior has to grow up to be Gohan, right?
Hmm.
And save the world. So over time, they're going to really try to grow this thing. They're going to try to work on being enduring. They're going to try to work on getting stability in their life. They're going to try to work on what worked in the past and using what worked in the past. That's why a lot of these guys can be historians or do something in that light. But often, like they're so big picture focused, they miss the details and stuff like that, like paying bills or dieting appropriately or just like exercising wrongly. When it gets into NI posing, this is great here. Ultimately, what I see the posing function doing, it's checking the hero. At first, when you're younger, this really the opposing personality isn't there to really check it. But
Hmm.
as you grow, there grows a little voice that causes this worry, right? Um,
Hmm.
and for them, it's about their future. Like they can worry about where they're going in the world. What's the future for them? They can worry about the best path forward. Being able to transform themselves, like over a period of time. Can look into a vision of something not happening could be a problem. Um, but overall, like what this does is you see 100 possibilities, and NI posing is going to help you chase the possibilities that will actually lead to fruit. So that's where you want to really be going, because you can end up chasing stuff your entire life and get fucking nothing. You don't want to be that person. So
Right. So you would say as they mature, SI inferior, they chase a level of stability, and then NI becomes slightly pessimistic on the any hero. So it's like, okay, they kind of anxious about their future. So they, as they mature, they get more stable over time. They don't just chase possibilities.
well,
Is
yeah,
that
that's what
correct?
that opposing does. It's gonna make you chase the best path forward over time, because it's like, oh well, I checked these possibilities last time and that didn't work for me. And damn, I need to be worried about the best ones, because a lot of these things aren't even gonna be able to become possible. So I need to be picking the ones that can actually work, the ones that can make me money, the ones that can make my friends happy. You know, seeing all that is just seeing everything,
Hmm.
seeing the right things and taking the right paths. So that's what that opposing is going to do for them. And then they have that FE critic, right? It can be critical and disgruntled about expectation and norms of the group, to the point of completely disregarding and even rebelling. Like I said earlier, they can come off pragmatic because of the FI parent, right? Because to them, it's important to be congruent with who they are or what they find to be the most important.
Hmm.
Um, and they can be they can beat the shit out of anybody for being a bad person. Like they can really attack you on that. Be very judgmental, um, critical of others, being authentic and fake, call you out for not being a good person or values not meeting your actions. But they can also feel those emotions of other people very strongly, right? Because the critic functions is the sixth function, and it has actually the strength of the parent function. It just has a negative attitude. The attitude towards it is quite negative. but over time, when they gain wisdom, they can use that as well. You'll see with Tony Robbins, he's using it quite well.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, they can, like, if you are a person who what you're doing isn't matching what you say, they're gonna call you out, and it's gonna be very fucking nasty with how they go about that.
Right.
Well, I just can't stand fake people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so TI trickster. Wow. So this is Christian's ego function.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
the thing about that is they can make statements or believe in things that are contradictory and illogical.
Mm-hmm.
That is the problem here with the trickster. Can have problems using deductive processes, right? That's gonna be kind of what it brings us. But I mean, at the same time, you know, with like research and things like that, you'll see some of these ENFPs in high like research fields and things of that nature. So they do tend to somewhat kind of work on it a little bit. Um, but generally they have a poor internal logical framework, right? To figure out what's actually true or false. Like I never forget the time we typed the girl, the ENFP, and she, even though we were correct, somebody typed the ESFP, we typed her ENFP.
Mm-hmm.
She decided to go with the person who had more views.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like T child, like that's fucking T fucking child.
That's T
Right?
child with that TI trickster. It's like, oh, the
Yeah,
person got
T.I.
more
Trickster.
views, then I go with that person, even
Yeah,
though the ideas don't. The ideas have nothing to do with the views. You know what I mean?
yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that could be something that can happen there. Uh, um, trouble with what is reasonable or logical, right? They can really have a problem with that. They can believe like anything is possible, anything is true. Um,
Yeah.
it just depends on the way I look at it with any boo 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 boo.
Mm-hmm.
Anything can be true as long as I just flip it over here, flip it over there, flip it over here. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
they're very abstract minded. In fact, a common saying that my brother-in-law says is like, "Oh, it's all mental. Like it's all mental. Like from it's based on your perspective. Like basically from his perspective, there's no truth. Like it's kind of just how you feel can affect reality in a way. You know, like so. And that's a common saying he says. They could get like that. You know.
yeah.
So
Uh, and they can really struggle with consistency of thought. Hard time shutting off senses to observe and think or analyze, right? What I've noticed personally is that if I'm in a battle with an ENFP or somebody who has TI trickster, when I get in a conversation with them in an argument, within a couple of comments, the argument starts to break down. It completely starts to break down. It's incongruent. They may start out with a pretty decent premise, but as time goes down, it just completely disintegrates. Um, so that's what I notice, and it tends to get a little emotional. Like they'll tend to get emotional about it. But I just noticed like their premises and their logic tends to like break down after like maybe a couple of pushbacks from me or something. So or they'll say something that contradicts itself. Oh, I'm introverted. Oh, I'm extroverted. Or I am I don't never go out and then they're fucking always out. Or like it's just like contradictory shit. Like
yeah.
um, it can make it very hard to type them sometimes with that TI trickster.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have like SE demons, so they don't really care about your experiences. They don't really care about what's really going on around them, or being in the moment, or trusting their instincts, or taking action relevant to the moment. Um, because the world is all about the possibilities for them. That like any hero is number one to them, and like we always say, in every video, the hero and the demon have this effect to where people's brain thinks that you can only do one,
Mm-hmm.
but in actuality, you can do both, right? But for some reason, our brains just think I'm all hero, right? But you can do both, and doing both is going to give you um, entire different world. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because once you're in the moment and you're using any, you're fucking unstoppable. And I'm going to go ahead and dispel a fucking dumbass thing that people put on the internet is that SC Demon is not athletic. Joseph was one of the best fucking basketball players ever. Joe was insane. Okay, my cousin is insane. Like, so don't think like these that NE it's really something else. My older brother was insane in sports, right? And a lot of people, you know, have this problem online where they think just because you're good at sports that you have to be an SE Dom or something, and that's fucking wrong, right?
Mhm.
Uh, ask Christian. Joe used to be balling.
Yeah, yeah. He is, he is.
This motherfucker, he was not even gonna lie. I will give him credit. Joe used to coach me for basketball. Merce, you need to do this. Merce, you need to do that. Over here, Merce. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because Joe was like that, man. Cool guy with like Joe, you
Yeah,
know,
Joseph was the
he
man in
almost kept
basketball.
us.
For sure,
He
for
was
sure.
the fucking man. I ain't gonna fucking lie. My brother's the man in basketball too.
Mhm.
Like at this point, that SI is sitting in on that ENFP and not the normal NE, which is want them to try new things and do different things. NE is kind of spinning right now, and he's like, "Oh, give me some time," you know.
Mhm.
And the SI is stepping in, and these bad grips are starting to come out. Okay,
Mhm.
um, so I'll get into the dark grip, right? So this is an additional slide here that I'm adding. The ENFP life is a chaos of random misadventures. This is little, there's little, if any, stability in many half-started schemes. This person gets by on charm, talent, a capacity to confuse, and last-ditch, half-baked, unconventional solutions. Mostly, he or she floats as society's margins, affairs in disarray, as curious and memorable characters. Anything that smells of responsibility or commitment, say hasty marriages and surprise children cannot last long. Though a smooth talker, he or she has an unsettling or suspicious aura and most ventures are lots of talk, little action, and no delivery, right?
Hmm.
Life is flights of fancy with any DOMs as the star. Underlying all of this is a terrifying, frightened core of hurt that must be avoided at all costs.
Cost.
I have,
Mhm.
what do you want to say, Chris?
Oh no, no, go ahead, go ahead. At all costs. Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I have friends here when like like we said, like being that any dom man, you can pretty much sell um fantasies to anyone. You can sell anybody a dream, right? And that can lead to that instability, just like just being a shitty person because you could get away with it and people aren't aware of it. People aren't as perceptive as you guys with extroverted intuition. They can't see what you guys can see. They don't know. They can't predict. Um, so you guys can get into the mode of just doing shit and just trying it. That could be, shitty marriages, right? Marriages over and over. You be in your fourth or fifth marriage, just random kids and stuff like that. And at this point, you're starting to blow up your fucking life, right? You do this shit too much, you done blow up your fucking life because you go through these divorces. That shit does have a spirit, right? And that spirit will attack you. I don't care what anyone says. Like failing a marriage is not going to make you feel good afterwards, right?
Mhm.
You might feel like a failure as a person. Surprise children, like you can't afford to be having surprise children. With enough of that, they become baggage on you, and ultimately they limit the possibilities that you have. So you're gonna fucking hate life.
Mhm.
Like if you keep this, like keep making like stupid ass decisions like this, you're gonna fucking hate life. And that reality is something that you fucking built. So the only person that you can look yourself, the only person you can look at in the mirror is fucking you, right? Because you created this, because you want to chase possibilities. You want to chase stupid schemes. You want to, instead of trying to build like something that was memorable or something with some type of stability, um,
Mhm.
you just got off and you just kept being one-sided with your extroverted intuition, which is a bad thing to do, okay?
Mhm.
Um,
Now remember, this doesn't have to be you. We're not saying this, all ENFPs do this or are going to end up here. We're saying this is what can happen if you don't set your life up the right way, responsibly, and develop yourself. Okay.
And I
Yeah.
would change this from the dark grip SI. I would just say that this is the one-sided of any. That's when somebody just pours straight into their hero function, just pour, and
They don't develop
these,
anything else.
huh?
And they don't develop anything else. They just,
They don't develop
let their
anything
hero
else.
run wild, no development, no extra work, etc.
So that's what you want to be cognitive of. And as we always say, awareness is fucking king.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to be the best, but as long as you got some awareness, you can be like, okay, you know what? I don't need to be doing this because this is going to lead me down a wrong path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like it might be good today, but then I'm gonna have to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. So yeah. And yeah, go for it, Christian.
All right. So the best way to use SI for ENFPs, okay? So exercise regularly to avoid grips. Goal is give yourself a break from immediate creative solutions. So basically by doing
Sprinkling.
yeah, by sprinkling it in, you basically give that NE a break so it doesn't get exhausted and then you don't end up in an SI grip, right? And reconnect with the part of you that has stayed the same throughout time. So like I mentioned before, because that NE could be very, powerful, you basically start to adopt different costumes for yourself, and you need something that grounds you to who you are. A good thing is that you could do is watch a movie that you've seen throughout your life, or touch back in with your old friends from back home or your family members, etc. This will allow you to ground yourself in your identity, right? So that you could explore possibilities but still keep yourself stable. Confront your demons, wisely overcome obstacles, and renew energy and purpose. Tackle those challenges. Like I said, listen to traditional media, including music, share memories with friends, and embrace some routine, stability, and traditions. So just because you're chasing possibilities, don't go ahead and throw away those traditions that ground your personality. Also, a good thing that you could do is that you could have a vlog or a diary so that you could keep track of who you are becoming and who you've been over time, and take care of your health. Try to remain stable, try to reach homeostasis. Okay.
So I mean, you don't have to do a lot of this, but you do need to get in the habit of sprinkling this in here and there, because it's very important to have that overall development, right? Don't just let your hero run the show. Don't just let a certain function run the show. This is going to be your hardest battle.
Yeah.
It's not going to feel great, but over time, the Gohan goes Super Saiyan fucking 2 and saves the world. That's all
Right.
I can say. Gohan goes Super Saiyan 2 and saves the world.
And then for ENFP specifically, be careful about throwing away relationships that don't give you value. You might perceive them as them not giving you value anymore. So you might be quick to throw those connections away, but what you don't realize is those connections actually have this effect on you. They can ground you, they can keep you stable, keep you in your identity. A lot of the times I think ENFPs want to rise above their identity, right? Like promote status building. And they think in order to do that, they need to throw away the previous connections that no longer serve them, because a lot of sources will give them that information, right? But what they don't realize is
You got to do this.
that if they do that enough, then they could end up in one of these SI grips, because essentially you're just letting your any possibilities run wild and you're not grounding your identity onto something from your past, you know?
Or you're not letting your parent function come in and make you mature. Then you're not building your identity, right? The parent function is going to go in and it's going to stabilize you a lot better, right? Because if you're going NE to TE, NE to TE, you're going to be building your perception off what other people value,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And parent function is like, what the fuck you doing, bro? We build our perception off what we value. Fuck what they fucking value. And that's when that FI parent needs to step in and say, I value this. I This is what we find to be important. This is what we find to be congruent with our personality. And we don't care about these TE achievements that you care about. We don't care about what that person cares about. We care about what makes us happy. And I will say, like, me and Christian are kind of ragging down on ENFP males, kind of like, but the women that I've noticed have been very FE parent strong, and they're good people.
Mm-hmm.
But the men can kind of fall in that trap, or that TE child,
Yeah.
because like we say, this world is a TE world. This is a TESI world, really.
Mm-hmm.
So you can fall prey to that, your child function, and it can be like that child function is like a drug, a crack or something. Once you get a little bit of it, you feel like it's the best thing ever, but it's not what's going to make you the most fulfilled. And it actually isn't that great, right? You're going to be overall a lot happier of a person using your parent function. and you're not gonna come off as childish.
Yeah, what we've said in previous presentations stands. You don't want to completely repress that child function. You want to allow it room to play. The problem is like because like Mercer said, society rewards TE so much. It's almost like you're getting that external validation all the time for those TE achievements, and it's very easy for ENFPs to fall prey to just letting that child go wild because society's rewarding you for it. Like we said, like these guys are very popular. You know, they get very rewarded by people for being this way. But if you're not careful, then you underdevelop yourself because you're just letting that, like Marcia said, you're letting that NE go wild and that T, NET, NET. And if you overuse something, it grows stale. Okay. It's like you need to go do something else so that you could develop further, or else you're gonna get stuck on a plateau, you know. And like Mercer said, you're gonna live a happier life if you develop those other functions, not just rely on, you know, that TE child. So,
Yeah, like I was saying like earlier with my friend, who went from law to tech to now he's a farmer. You know, look at that shit. You know, if FI parent would have stepped in, maybe he would have chose what was important to him and what was the ideals that he wanted to get across in the world, right?
mhm.
But because he's going NE to TE, which is very tough for the men, it's very tough for the men because, like I said, this is a very TE world, and men get beat down with TE because if you're not successful, you're not great, you're not whatever, you're nobody.
Right. No one cares about you, you know.
So,
And this is very painful for ENFP men. Like their worst nightmare is to be a nobody that no one cares about, you know. As opposed
100%.
to, you know, for example, me, I'd be like, fuck these people. Like, I don't care what they think about me. But they really care. They really care about this. So, you know, it's it's important to them, and they should, you know, be mindful of that, but they need to slow down as well. They need to slow down and look at the other things that they're not
Look at
developing,
what
you
they
know.
actually value. You
Yeah.
know, you're gonna be a lot happier over time and with your life if it's that FI parent is making decisions, right? You can value TE. TE is very important. You know, become a very knowledgeable person, but ultimately you need to be leading your life to where FI wants you to go, not what TE child wants you to go, because you become to a slave to some shit that you don't even fucking value, and
Right.
then you'll be waking up like I fucking hate my life.
Mhm. Facts.
So here we have the ENFP subtypes. We got Tony Robbins, we got Kevin Hart, we got Bill Clinton, and we have Robin Williams. So you got the dominant one, right? Everyone knows fucking Tony Robbins got some, I forget exactly what it is, but he had some tumor that just allowed this guy to just grow, 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 grow. I think some doctor said he wasn't even supposed to be alive or some crazy shit, but obviously this guy's full of testosterone. The guy's on the stage talking for 10, 20 plus, sometimes 10 hours at a time. Not 20, my bad. But you can just get this testosterone vibe from fucking Tony Robbins. It is what it is. He speaks loud. He means what he says. But naturally, for the ENFP here, they're gonna be more confident and driven, more often in leader roles. High level of testosterone, right? I could see somebody, snatching Bill Clinton and putting him in a dominant role, but I just don't get that testosterone feel from Bill. Like it is what it is. The creative, right? They're more exploratory and more social, often in railroads, high levels of dopamine. So you got the Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart, he's stand-up comedian, doing all the movies, doing all this crap. Um, he's just a creative ENFP. Tom Cruise doing all these things. Quando Rondo. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He is an artist. He's got golds and teeth in his mouth. You would never think he's ENFP, but he is an ENFP. Um, Eventually, I'll put them on the channel. And then you have the normalizer, which is more conventional and dedicated, right? So another thing that says like the dominant takes a more in charge style, right? So they're gonna have to get the starter, but then they're also gonna have that in charge as part of their shit, that personality as well. And the creative is gonna be kind of doubling down on the starter stuff. So that's one thing. And then you have the normalizing, which is more conventional and dedicated. Um, High levels of serotonin, that's going to be the chart the course, right? That's going to be the finisher. So that's very important to get when you're a starter to be able to finish things. Very powerful. And then you have the harmonizing. This is the more empathetic. So this is going to be more in the background. They're going to adopt like a little background to their starter type. And more reflective, more often in related roles, high levels of estrogen, right? You got Robin Williams, shitty that this guy that he killed himself, but it is what it is, you know.
All right.
You want to say, Chris?
No, no, I'm good. Move on to the next one.
All right, so we always have our references. We always give credit to where we got our information. Like I said, I'm going through all these books and I'm pulling the best information. Um, I do not put in shit that I don't think is true. So it goes against Mercer's TI framework to get on this PowerPoint.
Mhm.
And
So, do you have any questions from people?
I did not pull any ENFPs, unfortunately. But I mean, what I can say is for like the best thing I could say for ENFP is to start incorporating like your NI. Like sometimes you want to meditate or something. Work on like meditations on the weekends to just like rest your mind and to be able to focus. It's dangerous to be. It's dangerous for an ENFP to not be able to like make their plans go to fruition or not being able to see their future. So you can take on little small things like meditation to
Mhm.
help you be able to chart the course for your life, right?
Mhm.
Because that's going to be in that opposing function, and that's going to make sure that you chase actual things with actual possibilities here. Um, Also, don't let your NE like come up with like convincing stories for why you can't do something. It's too easy for it to flip something around and you make excuses. Like we say in our Discord and stuff, we say the holy NE flip, right? They can flip some shit over here, flip it over there, and it can make an excuse for why you're not where you want to be, or why you can just be lazy or not do what you need to do, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think just using everything responsibly is very important. Uh, Best thing for ENFP, I think, is actually reading a lot, right? Read those books, but like we said earlier, make sure you're getting the best books,
Yeah.
right? Um, don't just like read a book that's completely trash. Um, like Christian was saying, I think his brother-in-law gave him a book and he was just like, "What'd you say, Christian?"
Oh, so I was reading Way to a Superior Man, and my brother-in-law gave me that book so I could read it. I started reading it, and a lot of the tenants, like they're good, like superficially, but when you kind of dig into like what they were saying, a lot of them kind of contradict. There's a lot of wiggle room there, and I think I mentioned that to him, and he was like, "Oh, well, I read this book like 4 times a year." And like, so like we started talking about it. He's like, well, I guess we could philosophize about it or whatever. So basically, like, my natural tendency is to kind of like dig into the ideas and see what I can extract from them, not just take the whole idea. um and I guess it's not something that I guess it's in his nature to do. So I could say, I would say, like, if you could get somebody in your corner that digs into the ideas a little further and kind of extracts how they work and stuff like that, that would be very beneficial. But a lot of the times, ENFPs don't like to be challenged on ideas they present to other people. So I think in a way you have to be mindful of that and be more open-minded to those ideas being um broken down. You know what I mean? Not just accept the whole idea as is. I guess that would be an advice I could give. Yeah.
I mean, I'll talk about a story here. I remember my buddy, we were in college, and I gave my buddy a book. He's an ENFP, and I was like, "Hey, man, read." I'm like, if you know me, I'm very particular when I give you a book. Just know, Mercy's gonna pop quiz your ass,
Hmm.
right? It just is what it is. I'm gonna pop quiz you. And this guy, like I said, he was gonna go. He was going to law school. I gave this guy this book, not even that hard, and after he had read it, I told him to summarize it for me. And when he started summarizing it for me, it had nothing to do with the book. And this is before type. This is way back in the day. And this is when I came up with the rule. Not everybody can do reading comprehension. Not everybody like to read. Those who read can't comprehend. Those who comprehend can't implement, right? So it all goes back to that system there. Right? I believe 95% of people can't do that. Most people don't like to read. Those who read can't comprehend. Those who comprehend can't implement. And that's what I noticed there. It blew my fucking mind. It really blew my mind. I just couldn't believe how somebody read an entire book and couldn't tell me a summary on the bitch. But again, with ENFPs, just keep reading, man. Just keep reading, just build that that intranet for yourself. So then you'll be like the most knowledgeable person in the room, like Tai Lopez. Tai Lopez just be running off random facts here and there. These guys, you got, like I said, there's probably no personality type that can digest as much information as you guys. With that NE and TE, I don't think anybody can. And I think people were saying, like maybe an ESFP, but ESFP can't do that because they have SE. SE is about living in the moment. NE is about possibilities and options and all that. So with NE and TE, Lord have mercy. So you want to use that to your strengths, but also make sure you chart the course for your life that is something that you value. Don't be charting a course for what your sister and your mom and your brother value, but what do you value? What impact do you want to have? What idealistic goals do you want to bring to the world? Okay. How do you want to implement something into the world for us? Don't be focused on, well, the world values this metric, so I'm gonna value this metric. Okay. Work on that, think about it. That's all I gotta say, man. I think like what we said about ENFPs, very charismatic individual. Everybody loves ENFPs, very popular people. They get things done, they make things happen. They make the impossible shit that you think can never happen. They're very good at being salesmen. They're very, knowledgeable people overall. And they, I like ENFPs, but damn boy, you gotta watch. I gotta watch my cousin. I swear to God, I sleep with both eyes open with that motherfucker.
Yeah, I would say I'm impressed by their charisma, their ability to get people on board with their ideas. I, have an interesting relationship with them because I don't fall on board with ideas easy. I dig into everything. I'm eternally skeptical, right? So that's always going to be a conflict there because whenever you present me a new idea, I gotta go look it up. I gotta see the ins and outs, how it works. And then when you do that, a lot of the ideas fall apart. But, there is some good there though, just like how Mercer and I are a good team because he presents me with TE and I, get ideas from there and I increase my wealth of information. They kind of do the same thing. It's just they do it in a more childish way as opposed to Mercer. When Mercer brings me information, it's usually double, triple verified. You know what I mean? Like there's, when he brings me information and then I go, there's some holes here and there, but it's like pretty sound. You know what I mean? Whereas they basically take a shotgun approach. It's like they see something that makes them feel good and then it becomes gospel. But then, it's like, oh, everybody needs to do this. It's like, no, not everybody needs to do this. Let's take it into context. What's their situation? Break it down. And, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But ENFPs, I would say if I could take a skill away from them is their ability to sell. Like that is locked down tight. Like that's their strong suit. Like, I don't know.
Sell the TV to a blind man. I'll say also the networking, man. I mean, I ain't gonna fucking lie. Like my cousin, with his networking, like he and overall, like I said, his overall confidence in himself, like being FI inferior, I just don't have the confidence that my cousin have. He don't have to have any of the shit that I have, but he feels good about himself. I don't give a damn what nobody say. Like he loves himself. Like it is what it is. And when it comes to networking, that man can pull off miracles. Like I was talking about the oil changes or like knowing people or like me, like that's why me and him are like a very deadly team because his networking is so good. He goes up and he's gonna meet everybody. He's gonna meet the who runs this bar. Who runs this club? Who run? And I'm the more like he has his like charm, but I have the more serious like focused charm. So like when we meet people together, they may look at him and then they see me, and then it's like it all goes so much smoother. But his networking is A1. Like he's gonna, if I'm like, yo, we need to do something this weekend, he gonna have 50 people in my house. 50 people, I ain't even gotta do nothing. 50 people in my house. Or he say, oh man, we're gonna go out of town. Don't even worry about money. I'm like, man, shut the fuck up. We go somewhere, but they're like, the people just, no, they good. They're good. The bottle section over here for you. And I'm like, you paid them? He's like, nah, man, they gave it to me for free. I'm
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
They can make shit. They can make shit happen that don't even seem real. You know what I mean?
It don't even make no sense, man. It don't even make no sense, and that's a very powerful skill there, and very enthusiastic. And I mean, I love dealing with the motherfucker, but like I said, I gotta watch him with both eyes. I gotta watch him with both eyes because he is omega interest, not just interest, omega interest.
Yeah.
But guys, we rolled you guys pretty hard.
Yeah. But don't worry, it'll be our turn soon. Once we get to our own types, then we'll balance the scales out. Don't worry.
Don't you worry. I do have the ENTJ, and I'm pretty sure Christian's gonna ride me pretty hard on that one.
Yeah. And vice versa when it comes to me. So don't even worry. Like, subscribe, join the Discord, and wait on the next presentation by Mercer and I. It's gonna be a great one. See you on the next one. Peace out.
And we got to get some fucking sensors in here. We got to get some sensors in here. So there'll be sensors coming.